Podcast City Network.
Hey guys, this is Chris with Final Score, and we are back for another exciting episode only on the Podcast City Network. Make sure you go check out Final Score on all of our social media outlets, on Facebook at /PCN Final Score, on Twitter at PCN Final Score, and of course, you gotta go hop over to our little Podbean that we have now. Go download some of our newest episodes, but definitely make sure you also give us a follow, a little subscribe, so you can get the latest updates every time we drop a new episode. All you got to do is go over to pcnfinalscore.podbean.com, and you can get all of our latest episodes there. But, of course, I can't forget the elephant. I mean, hey, never mind. Sorry, it's just a co-host. Hey, Craig, how you doing today, bud?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You're sitting kind of high and mighty in this chair next to me. This thing looks like a Ferrari compared to what you were sitting in last week.
Well, you see, due to some recent budget, like, I'm just kidding. I got a chair. It's a lot more comfortable. I feel like it's helpful when we have, like, last week we had a 3-hour sitting.
Yes, we did.
That was an interesting show. We only go 2 hours, but we went for a full 3. But I wanted to sit in something a little bit more comfortable this time. So I decided to, treat myself.
I don't know who you talked to over at Podcast City Network to get you this thing.
I know the owner.
Oh, you know the owner?
Yeah.
God, I think I may have met him once or twice, or see him in the mirror every now and then. Anyways, but all that aside, though, we have a really great episode lined up today. There's been a lot of things that have happened, are happening, and are going to happen. And this is very, very crazy, tumultuous times for a multitude of reasons.
I was going to highlight that our latest episode that's on Podbean had double-digit downloads.
Yes,
which is the first time we've ever hit that, which is awesome.
Yes, we've been out less than 2 weeks on Podbean, and we already have double-digit downloads on episodes. So we
most
definitely
downloaded content that we've had out there ever.
Absolutely,
so it's been good.
And we definitely thank all of you who listen to us. We really appreciate it, and love your continued support. So definitely make sure that you go out, give us a like, give us a follow, and hey, maybe even give us a share and share us to all your friends. So. But we got a lot of things planned for today that we have to start just biting into, because there's so much going on, so much that has happened. And the first thing we're gonna kick off with is a little bit of this NCAA basketball action that we've been seeing in this tournament. Tournament's been going wild. It's been just wild.
Every year, it never disappoints. I love it.
Never disappoints. Absolutely love it. And there's been so much going on. We're going to go ahead and we're going to pull up our bracket right now, because so much has happened. And as you can see here, we've had a few notable upsets that have happened. I don't think anybody fully expected Liberty to move on.
Yeah, that was kind of a shocker. I wasn't seeing that one coming, but that's always a great story.
Yeah, always a great story. I was kind of surprised when Louisville went down to Minnesota. I had Louisville. That totally busted my bracket, and then continued to bust my bracket.
Just that first
one busted my bracket.
Did you have Louisville beating Michigan State?
No, I did not.
Well, then it didn't bust your bracket.
Well, I mean, it didn't fully bust my bracket, but I like to go for perfectness. I'm a man of perfection.
Man of perfection, gotcha.
Man of perfection.
How many? I know we individually did bracket. We didn't do a bracket in each other's pool this year, but. How is your bracket looking?
Well, I can say that the Final Four that I have in place
is still good.
Is still good.
What about your Elite 8?
As of right now? My Elite 8 is for the most part intact. But we'll see how things shake out. I didn't really plan on certain teams being able.
Who did you miss in the Elite 8?
So
mine's still intact.
I had Villanova taking down Purdue.
I did too. So that was one of my Sweet 16s that I missed.
One of my Sweet 16s that I missed. Of my Elite 8, I'm pretty sure I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure my Elite 8 is intact for what I had. But there's a lot of crazy things that could happen. We're currently actually watching a lot of sports here in the Final Score studios.
Yeah,
nice
we're
little place we got here.
We're watching the North Carolina Washington game on one screen. The hot shots of the AAF against the San Diego Fleet on another screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's more games coming up here too. But so you're missing just a couple of teams?
Just a couple.
Just a couple. I'm only missing 2 Sweet 16 teams right now. I missed. I had Villanova beating Purdue, and then I had Belmont over LSU. But of course, Belmont, which is one of my bold prediction upsets from last week, didn't really work out. They should have beaten Maryland.
Should have.
Just,
would have. Could have.
Yep.
But,
LSU almost messed around and lost to Maryland anyway.
Captain Hindsight. Anyways.
Captain Hindsight.
But the thing I look at is that there's been a lot of great games, too, so far. What are some of the best games that you think you've seen thus far in the tournament?
One of them that almost gave me a heart attack today was Tennessee and Iowa.
Yeah, I walked in on you watching that one.
Yeah. Yeah, we were watching it here in our studio, I guess you could call it. But that game went into overtime, but Tennessee was up by 25 points on Iowa. Looked like they were going to run away with this game. And then Iowa came out in the second half, and they locked down defensively. They forced over 10 turnovers on Tennessee's offense in that second half and took it to overtime. They had a chance to win that game. I have Tennessee in the Final Four in my bracket, so
I do as well.
But 83-77 was the final in that game. That was a great game to watch.
Absolutely, it was a lot of great defensive moves going on, a lot of great shooting, a lot of great blocks, a lot of great steals. And that was one thing I think I saw too in the overtime period was that you saw guys just stripping balls away, playing as hard as they can to try and get that win. And Iowa was hungry there at the end. They really wanted that game. Yeah,
they played really hard. They had a couple guys. I know Bohannon, their point guard. He's a real scrappy player. He gets under people's skin. He was being really disruptive all throughout the game, especially in that second half. But they just didn't have enough offense in them. They had Tennessee's star player Admiral Schofield with 4 fouls early in the second half, and looked like that was the reason they were getting back in the game, is just by getting down in the post. They had Cook, their power forward. He started Iowa off with 6 or 8 straight points, I believe, himself, just to get them jump started. And yeah, they got close. They almost pulled it out. They almost got a Sweet 16 berth, but not quite. So that sets up a showdown of Tennessee and Purdue next weekend in the South bracket.
And that'll be a very interesting matchup when you really look at it. I still have Tennessee winning this game regardless. Tennessee is in my Final Four. So we'll really see how things shake out. A lot of interesting things that have happened. We still have Kentucky that's still alive. They're in the Sweet 16 now, along with Auburn. And, of course, one of your favorites. How dare I say their name? I'm not going to, though. Big Blue. We'll just call them that.
Big Blue.
Big Blue.
Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Gosh, did I say that? I don't know how I got tricked into saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was nice.
Oh, that hurt. I feel like I should. A good thing I'm wearing a Notre Dame jersey at least, so it can at least counter.
Yeah, you can at least
counterbalance
counteract that balance a little bit.
But another great matchup I do see here is with Gonzaga and Florida State. It should be a really nice matchup.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good game. Gonzaga's been playing really well. They took it to Baylor in their matchup. I think we have it was 83-71 was the final in that game. But I think Gonzaga Florida State is going to be a really, really good matchup in this bracket. Michigan, like I said, played really well their first 2 games against Montana and Florida State.
And as of this recording, they're still waiting on the tip-off for Buffalo, Texas Tech will be who will
that'll
face.
Be in a couple hours here.
Yeah, that'll be close here because we do these pre-recorded.
Yeah.
But we try to get them out as quickly as possible to try and stay as up-to-date as possible.
Yep.
But we'll definitely have this out really quickly because I'm a master of technical abilities. So,
You've got it down to a science now. It only took like 3 or 4 weeks of us recording episodes.
Yeah, now I can pump them out quick as can be, even if they do run 3 hours long. Oh, that was such a relay we did.
It was
last
a lot
week.
of fun though.
It was a lot of fun.
We didn't even realize it was almost 3 hours until we looked down at the clock and went, "Oh, yeah, we're at 2.5 hours. We should probably wrap this thing up."
Yeah, it was funny too because by the time I got home and I got everything edited and got everything put online, I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. No big deal, guys."
Burning the midnight oil.
Burning that midnight oil. You gotta do what you gotta do. Good thing I had. But
one of the other games that, not really a game, but one of the stories that came out of this tournament early on was Ja Morant at Murray State.
Mm-hmm.
He had a triple-double against Marquette in the first round, and he's the first player to have a triple-double since Draymond Green did it for Michigan State. And I think, if I remember correctly, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe he's the 9th or 10th player in NCAA tournament history to have a triple-double.
Right.
So that's an amazing feat in and of itself, but it also kind of strengthens the notion that he's going to be a top 5 pick in the NBA draft coming up in a few months here. And he's not only is he a great player on the court, watching the press conferences, he's a great person off the court too. His interviews, he always deflected everything to his teammates and how well his coaching staff was. And he's not like a guy who let any kind of spotlight get to his head, in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
He was all about his teammates. He was all about the school and the program and the history. And he's just a good kid from what a lot of the, college analysts that are close to the situation or to the coaches have been saying. So really excited to see what he's going to do in the NBA draft and where he's going to land ultimately. But that's been one of the really good stories, in my opinion, for this tournament so far.
I definitely have to agree. When you're able to put on that type of a performance and put up those kinds of numbers, especially in a big-time game like that, and Marquette's no slouch of their own, so to be able to put that up and be able to be a part of that prestigious list is really great for that young man. And he will definitely be a high draft pick, I feel. Because when you have talent like that, there are people that are able to put up those kinds of numbers, they don't go unnoticed. He's going to be in the NBA. It's just an inevitability.
Right. Very true. Speaking of those double-digit seeds that made some noise in the tournament, like a Murray State, Oregon and UC Irvine is the other game to watch out for. That's actually going to be later on tonight, the last game of the night, which I'm definitely going to be staying up for to watch. Oregon, a 12 seed, UC Irvine, a 13 seed. UC Irvine upset Kansas State 70-64 in the first round matchup and played really well. They had 30 wins coming into this tournament. So I mean, they've been in close games like that. Regardless of competition, they know how to win games.
Definitely.
And they play fast, they play loose. This is really going to be a good game against Oregon. I'm really excited to watch this game. I have Oregon moving on. I actually even have Oregon upsetting Virginia and having a date with Tennessee in the Elite Eight. If I get that correct, I'm probably jumping up my standings in the bracket pool that I'm in. Which
I'm sure you will.
Yeah, as of right now, I'm sitting 5th out of 27 brackets. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. And I'm the only person in the top 10. Oh, I'm sorry. The second person in the top 10 that has Duke winning. But if Duke wins it all, I'm going to win it. And it's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, I have Duke winning it all in my bracket as well. It's hard to stop the Zion train and all the great support that he has there, especially with Coach K coaching him. So it's really interesting to see how this is going to play out, because I still feel they're going to get great, stiff competition. And don't forget, they still got North Carolina that is out there that anytime you get those two together. Even before
that, that's my championship game is Duke versus UNC. I think that would be great ratings. That'd be a great storyline and everything. But even before that, Duke still has to get out of their own bracket, and their biggest test outside of tonight with UCF with Taco Fall.
That's right.
That'll be interesting. But I think they still got to potentially get through Virginia Tech, who had beaten them earlier this year in ACC play. But if they get to Michigan State, watch out. Because Michigan State plays their very unique brand of basketball.
Oh, they most definitely do. And they're Michigan State, though, is still going to have to get through LSU first.
Correct. Yeah.
They've been able to have their little role, which we know LSU had their game against Maryland.
They've had close games both rounds, and they've been able. I give them a lot of credit. Watching them in the SEC tournament, I did not give them. That's why I had them losing in the first round to Yale, just because I watched how they played, and I didn't think they were going to be able to put it all together versus an experienced team like Yale. So give them a lot of credit, and they got a tough matchup against Michigan State. But I think if Michigan State can play Duke, we talked about last week how that could be the best intriguing matchup in this bracket. Michigan State does have a chance to pull the upset. Just because of how they play, they can muscle with Zion in the post. They have a lot of big-bodied guys. They rebound well. They play defense. Duke's not a great three-point shooting team, and Michigan State takes you out of what you want to do on offense.
This is true.
So if they can knock down shots, Cassius Winston, if he can outplay Trey Jones, and they can limit Zion Williamson extensively to 20 points or 18 points, I think they can win. And they can make the Final Four.
Well, we do have a huge update. North Carolina just finished off Washington.
Just went final,
81-59. So North Carolina will move on to play Auburn. So that'll be a very interesting matchup.
I'm excited for that matchup, and that's going to be a track meet.
That will be a track meet.
I cannot wait for this game. That's one of my most anticipated games in this tournament so far is going to be that game right there.
Honestly, I think that'll be the greatest test for North Carolina until they get to the Final Four, honestly.
Auburn will be a tough one, and then if they end up playing like Kentucky is going to be a very big matchup for them as well. But that's going to be interesting to see how this bracket all plays out, because outside of maybe the West bracket, just looking at the rest of the bracket that's left, I think the hardest road would probably be North Carolina.
Well, yeah, because you look at it, they're going to have to beat Auburn, and then they're going to have to beat presumably Kentucky just to get to the Final Four, and then possibly have to face. So what I have projected to be Tennessee. Yeah,
and Kentucky, if they end up playing Ohio State, because Ohio State plays Houston tonight in an 11-3 matchup. Which Ohio State pulled one out of their behinds to beat Iowa State, who's a very Jekyll and Hyde team. They definitely did not come to play. They didn't play like the team they were in the Big 12 tournament, who played superb. But if Ohio State can win, Kentucky wins easily. If Houston wins, which I think they will, Houston's a very good team. Kelvin Sampson has made a resurgence as a coach. From his days at Oklahoma, and I think that'll be a really good matchup too, Kentucky versus Houston.
Definitely could be good.
One of the other big stories I wanted to bring up to you actually was in the first round, actually relating back to Michigan State. Tom Izzo was everyone's very hot or cold on this, but Tom Izzo was seen blowing up on one of his freshman players coming into a timeout during their first round game against Bradley, which had analysts on both sides of the fence. Twitter was up in arms about it, about everything there. And Bradley made it a close game against Michigan State. But the big story is Tom Izzo, and was it right for him to blow up on the player? Or, is this a big deal or not a big deal? What do you think?
Well, as someone who's done some coaching, more in a football capacity than basketball, but still coaching nonetheless, I don't feel you should blow up on players like this, no matter the circumstances. Just because at the end of the day, these are student athletes. These are kids. At the end of the day, these are young people that are learning a game and trying to be the best and trying to excel while under the pressure of being at big time programs, trying to keep up with their grades, and then on top of it, their budding lives as well, because these are people that are starting to come into their own as adults. So I feel that on a freshman who's probably 18, 19 years old, and to completely blow up on him on a nationally televised game, I don't feel is the way that you should handle any kind of a situation. Now, if there's an issue, that's fine. You want to blow up on them later, do it in the locker room. Don't do it courtside with everybody in sight, because you're asking for nothing but problems. And I feel like Tom Izzo, who's been around for quite a long time, and especially even at Michigan State itself, I don't feel he's someone that should have these kinds of issues. He should know better.
Well, I mean, this has been Izzo's MO for years. Having played high school ball with my coach played for Tom Izzo, coached a very similar style. Having played under that kind of an environment, okay, high school is it's whatever. Big deal.
Right.
But like when you get up to college, Izzo's been coaching this way for a long time. He's very passionate about what he does. He's also one of those coaches. It's not necessarily he's ripping into this guy. He's just holding the guy accountable, because if you listen to his post-game presser after the fact, basically what he said is that everybody's keeping each other accountable. So like, the fact that it looked like he blew up on him, it's just that what he quoted was, the days of, oh, my bads are over in the NCAA tournament. It's a one and done situation.
And
that's roughly what his quote was. It's not a verbatim quote, but talking to a lot of people, obviously I'm from Michigan, so I have a lot of friends that have followed Michigan State for a long time, and talking to them, and it's funny, if they're all behind him. They're all behind him and how he does his coaching style. Even on Twitter, all of his players have come to back him up. And even the player himself after the game, he's like, yeah, no, I don't have no issue with it, because he's like, I screwed up. He's like, I screwed up. I know it is. So that's the one thing about it, is that a lot of people are complaining that, he's getting yelled at, he's getting ripped into. Yes, it's 2019, but grow up. People. So if you get, this is the generation that we live in now, like with safe spaces and, it's you hurt my feelings and this and that. Life ain't like that, man.
You ain't lying.
Life doesn't give a crap.
And I'm not disagreeing with that. Coming from the high school I went to, which has produced NFL talent, has had guys that were considered for the NBA. I played for a very, very tough football coach who I got yelled at one time, and he literally hucked keys at me. So I know what you mean, and I took it on the chin, because you know what? I screwed up. I missed the blitzer. I didn't catch my man. He sacks the quarterback. That could have been a game changer in a game. So, I took that on my shoulders, and then when we reran the play, I promptly took that linebacker. I picked him up out of his blitz, and I put him on his back.
And you politely put him down, right?
I politely put him down. Because I am a polite person, sir.
Yes.
But at the end of
You're
the day...
You're a gentleman and a scholar.
I'm a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you, sir. Heard it here first. So at the end of the day, though, I'm all about tough coaching. But there's a time and a place for it. If you want to discipline your players on court side, I'm not against that. But keep in mind that you are always in the public eye. You're always going to be under a microscope, especially when you are at big-time college programs in basketball that constantly are following everything you do. So,
yeah, it is 2019. Like with the whole Steve Kerr thing before, with him and Draymond, it's like everything's recorded. Everything is under scrutiny and under microscope. I get that, but like in the heat, everybody forgets that it is the competition of it. It's the heat of the moment, and that's just the way that the players there. Cassius Winston and one of the other players, who's a senior player,
right?
They were seen restraining Izzo, but the way it looked is that they were restraining him. It looked a lot worse than it was. They literally put him aside and they say, "Hey, coach, we'll rip him. We got this." Because they all trust him. They love him. They have a loyalty to him. And it's because, he gives them tough love, but they know that he is not like a Greg Schiano kind of coach,
right?
Or anybody who actually doesn't give a crap about their players, or like I'm trying to think of another coach that's gotten in trouble for something like that, or like even like a Bobby Knight. Yeah, Bobby Knight loved his players, but he took it way over the top.
And that's what I mean. Is that kind of style? It can be an issue, especially in today's day and age of like you said, the safe spaces and all that. I agree, and I'm all for tough coaching. I was a tough coach, but like I said, there's always a time and a place. Bobby Knight, like you just said, great example. It's never a great idea to go throwing chairs onto the court. Or if your name's don't tell Latrell Sprewell, that's how somebody coaches. Latrell will grab their throat. Oh, he'll go PJ. Oh, he'll go find PJ. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so I mean, it's really funny because this whole issue is literally one side of the fence is the younger generation, the other side of the fence is the older generation. So it's really weird how this has really panned out. I personally don't see it as a big deal, and I don't see it as a big deal even on that kind of a stage, because this is for the national championship. You have eyes on you for every reason. Not even for getting scrutinized, but for some of these players, this is the only time they will have this opportunity. So there is a lot of tensions running high. Who else? Bruce Pearl's another guy at Auburn. He's a very passionate guy, and he gets up in his players, and his face gets red sometimes. Even the last game they had against Kansas, they're up by 20, and one of his players screwed up, and he ripped into him, because it's not just about, okay, hey, you're up 20, coach, calm down. No, it's you still have to coach throughout the rest of the game. Teams can go on runs at any point, but you're trying to instill and teach them to do the right things. And I don't have an issue with it. I think that it's getting overblown a little bit, but I do love how Izzo is now like steering into it. He's
taking it head on.
Oh, it's hilarious, because his post-game presser against Minnesota yesterday, they asked him about how they were getting out-rebounded at halftime by an inferior team, and his comments were, well, we went in the locker room and we held hands and we sang Kumbaya and said, guys, it's okay because a lesser team is out-rebounding you and they're smaller than you. So, yeah, we just held hands and sang Kumbaya. And that was what he said. I laughed so hard when I saw that, because that's not what he was like. But he's just steering right into it.
I mean,
I like it.
If it works.
I like it.
Oh, man. But you know what? One thing we're going to steer right into is talking about some wonderful entities and people that support Final Score and the Podcast City Network.
We have a new show to join the lineup,
Yes,
right?
we actually do have a new show. If you missed the announcement yesterday, we have the Movie Nights podcast has joined the ranks, headed by Dalton. Really great guys. Do a lot of movie review, movie preview, talk about a lot of movie news, a lot of great stuff. One of their most recent episodes, they talked about the fact that James Gunn came back to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Yeah, so he's really great stuff.
I have not met him yet, but he's a film grad, isn't he?
Yes, he's a film grad.
UCF?
Attended UCF, and now is trying to start his own film production company. So doing a lot of great stuff. Yeah, and they have real great stuff. Definitely go check them out. Yes, absolutely.
So what was their handle? Was Movie Night?
It's Movie Night, movie_night / movie_night for
like
Facebook.
NIGHT or KNI?
KNIGHT, and that's
movie
the beautiful part.
_night, KNIGHT.
Yes, KNIGHT. I can't pronounce anything today.
You can't pronounce words. You can't type today. You can't.
I can't type. I can't spell. I can't.
Well, that one we already knew.
Hey now.
I
have no comeback.
Given who your loyalties lie.
You know what? I only know how to spell one thing, and it's ND. Go Irish. So at the end of the day, though, it's a really great show. Definitely make sure you check them out.
Definitely check them out.
And you could definitely check them out on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. They also have a YouTube. All you have to search for is the Movie Nights or the Movie Nights podcast, and you will find them there. They're also available on iTunes and SoundCloud, so definitely make sure you check them out there as well.
Oh, very cool.
And as always, though, they are on the Podcast City Network website. So just go to podcastcity.net / the-movie-nights-podcast, and you will find them there. Really great stuff, but we definitely need to make sure that we mention the great people out there that help support us and all of our great sponsors. But definitely make sure that you stay tuned, as we're going to go into our football block covering AAF and NFL news. So definitely make sure to stay with us. We'll be right back.
The following support and sponsor Podcast City Network. City Limits Tap Room, sports bar in DeLand, Florida, has brew on tap, serve food, the grilled cheese is excellent. For upcoming events, check out City Limits Tap Room on Facebook.com/City Limits Tap Room. Atlantic Sounds has thousands of new and used vinyl records and CDs. If they don't have it, they can order it for you. Same location since 1982. For more updates on what's new, check out Atlantic Sounds on Facebook.com/Atlantic Sounds Vinyl. Sports Sanity Customs have worked with organizations from custom embroidering polo shirts to jerseys for your kids' baseball team. They do it all. Armed with state-of-the-art equipment and an in-house design team, they are equipped to take on your next project. Visit their website to learn more, sportsanitycustoms.com. Visit Sports Sanity Customs on facebook.com/sportsanitycustoms. 3Count Design offers a wide range of graphic design products, video, photography and other forms of media. Everything from t-shirt designs to websites. Visit facebook.com/3countdesign for more. Demo Blast Studios, an explosion of imagination. Original artwork, podcasts, video, apparel and more. Visit demoblaststudios.com. Visit Demo Blast Studios on facebook.com/demoblaststudios, the best family entertainment pro wrestling show in the state of Kentucky. Kentucky's Own Wrestling brings quality family vintage wrestling to a town near you. Kentucky's Own Wrestling offers a ladies division in wrestling and a training school. Kentucky's Own Wrestling is the current longest running Southern promotion. Visit facebook.com/Somerset Kentucky's Own Wrestling. All supporters and sponsors are brought to you by Podcast City Network.
And we are back here on Final Score. I'm Chris, here with Craig on Podcast City Network, and we got to talk about some exciting football that's happened and some exciting football still to come. Take a little look at the Alliance of American
kickstart
football.
the football segment talking about the Alliance. Actually, we're watching the Hot Shots and Fleet right now. We looked, so before we went to break, we were talking about the NCAA tournament and everything. It was 9-9. While we went to break, we rechecked the score here, and it's 23-9 Arizona. And it was still only the second quarter, so they have scored quite a bit in a very short amount of time.
Well, Arizona's trying to play some inspired football and keep the roll going after unseating the undefeated Orlando Apollos last weekend. So I'm sure they're really trying to keep things going, keep that momentum going, and try to make playoffs.
Yeah, and they're fighting for the second playoff spot in the Western Conference because only two teams from each conference will get into the 4-team playoff at the end of the season, and they're tied. San Diego and Arizona are tied right now for that second spot behind San Antonio. We'll talk about their game in a few minutes. But that game right now, there's a lot on the line for this one.
Oh, there's a lot on the line. Both of these teams are seemingly were pretty evenly matched, and we're playing. What a catch. My goodness, that was a great catch. Seemingly have been evenly matched, but Arizona now is just starting to pull away a little bit. But San Diego has a little offense coming. I do still have Arizona winning this game, though. I feel like are the better team. But we really will see as this one unfolds. As you can see, big swings can happen at any given time.
Yeah, and judging by last week's game for the Hot Shots against Orlando, they have a really good pass rush. But we also saw, we've also been seeing a stat earlier today that Arizona actually leads the league in rushing yards per game in the Alliance with 136, just over 136 per game. So that right there, that can help keep them into games and help them maintain the lead with that kind of a pass rush and a run game like that.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something you definitely want, especially once you get into this part of the season where you're trying to make those late pushes. They're trying to get into nice playoff seeding positions. So definitely want to see what they have coming down to the wire for these last few weeks.
Yeah, so this game is about to go into halftime, but I just see Arizona's averaging 9 yards a play in this game.
Yeah, you can't go wrong when you have things like that. But looking at some of the other games, though, that we've been having as we watch this one, Orlando took on Atlanta yesterday, and
well, at least Orlando showed up for the game.
Yeah, at least Orlando showed up anyways. It looked a lot like the Week 1 matchup we saw. Orlando ended up taking it to Atlanta, 36-6 on the road in Atlanta, and it was just a shellacking. Everybody played great, but with this win, the Orlando Apollos have clinched the first playoff spot.
Yeah, they are the very first team to clinch that playoff spot in the AAF, so it's a very good designation for Orlando.
Yeah, that's
they've
right.
Been one of
hashtag take aim.
Take aim, hashtag take aim. They have been kind of the premier team in this league so far in its first year. So congrats to them on being the first team to make the playoffs. And looking forward to seeing them hopefully in the championship game.
Yes, hopefully, which we'll touch more about that a little bit later. But Orlando seemingly keeps rolling, and So it definitely just blew out Atlanta. But the other game that we had yesterday that was a little bit closer was between the Salt Lake Stallions and the San Antonio Commanders. A little bit surprised on this one. I kind of thought the Commanders would kind of come in and take ownership a little bit, but allowed the Stallions to hang around, which ended up being a pretty exciting game. A lot of yards happening, a lot of passing, a lot of rushing. Pretty even in time of possession.
Yeah, this game was a low-scoring game. I had a chance to watch the kind of the late second half of this game last night. And San Antonio, I tell you what, their defense is good. Their defense is really, really good.
Oh, yes.
They couldn't get any points on the board. They did create a turnover or two, but Salt Lake could not move the ball whatsoever. The numbers don't show it. Salt Lake finished the game with 229 passing yards by Woodrum, but they couldn't move the ball.
They also only had 50 rushing yards as well. So the big thing you look at is that if you can't get a rushing game going, you can't really expect to get a passing game going either.
Yeah, neither team really had much of a rush game going. But the story in this one is the crowd noise.
Yes, most definitely.
The crowd was in it, and they were involved early. They were involved often. They were loud. The sections of this game that I was able to watch at the end, they actually forced Salt Lake's offense into 3 consecutive false start penalties on the same drive.
And that's huge, just because if you can have the crowd play such a factor like that in a game, it can really help you in so many ways. Like you said, having 3 false starts in a row because of crowd noise is unprecedented. So, but then again, when you look at it, I'm not really too surprised either, just because San Antonio has had some of the best attendance all year long. So they've been able to use that to their advantage. Even when we went to the Orlando Apollo games last weekend, the stadium had a good attendance, but still did not reach what the Commanders have been able to pull off.
Yeah, they had a season high, over 30,000 people in attendance for that game, and they're averaging roughly about 30,000 fans per game as well. So their fans were all over it. They showed a wide shot of the Alamo Dome, and they had the whole lower bowl was full. You couldn't really see the upper bowl at all in the broadcast, but the whole lower bowl, it was full. I mean, comparably to Orlando, where Orlando, for the most part, it was a full lower bowl at Spectrum Stadium. But even then, you could still definitely see there was some spots that were a little open and sparse. But this game right here, fourth quarter, what hinged on this game for me, having a chance to watch this, was when their quarterback, Luke Woodside went down with an apparent left arm injury, was playing decently well up to that point, but Marquise Williams, I think it's Marquise or Marquise, I can't remember how he pronounces it, so I apologize ahead of time for the Commander fans out there. But Williams came into play to spell him and did really well. His numbers don't show it, but he moved that offense so fluidly in the fourth quarter that they looked like a completely different team on offense. They were not moving the ball whatsoever and getting points on the board. He comes in, he has 2 drives with his team. He comes down, throws a touchdown. He had 19 yards rushing on 6 attempts, but he marched that team right down the field and gave them the go-ahead score. And then the defense just took over from there. Salt Lake had a chance to tie it up with a 2-point conversion, and the defense picked it off and took it the other way to get 2 points for the Commanders. So that's how you came to the final score here, 19-15. But this was a very close game all throughout. But Marquise Williams was the difference maker in this game. If they keep him in this game as their starting quarterback moving forward, I think they'll perform even better on offense that they've already been playing this year. So they'll be a tough team to contend with.
Definitely will be, especially when you have talent like that sitting on the bench that can just come in and be able to pick up where you need to help you get the wins you need. And that always ends up being big. Kind of reminds you of like a Philadelphia Eagles situation. where you can have a guy come in. Now, I'm not saying it's going to win them a championship or anything. No one's a Nick Foles, but at the end of the day, though, it's very good that they can have something like that to their disposal.
Yeah, they're definitely loving the fact that they have those two quarterbacks they can lean on. And Marquise Williams, little fun fact about him, he went to North Carolina, and he was the guy that was starting in front of Mitchell Trubisky, who ended up playing 1 year for the Tar Heels and then was drafted I believe it was number 2 overall.
Yes, number 2
by the Bears.
Overall by the Bears in that monumental trade where the 49ers seemingly had swindled the Bears, but
it didn't seem to work too well.
No, it's paid off for the Bears so far.
It's paid off for both, really.
It really has, and
so far
it's going to be interesting. But we'll touch more on that kind of stuff a little bit later. But we
yeah,
still got some big matchups though that are happening today. We still have Birmingham and Memphis later on the NFL Network at 8 p.m. We're currently watching Arizona San Diego, like we mentioned earlier.
Oh no, he pulled the Deshaun Jackson.
Did we just see a Deshaun Jackson?
Baugh, the tight end Baugh, he dropped the football before he crossed the goal line. This is to end the half right now. What?
See, I never understood
time
that.
out. Yeah, why? I don't understand this. What would you do if you're the coach here? If you're Mike Martz, what do you do here?
I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm going to pull a Tom Izzo, and I am going to rip into that player because that, on the other hand, is very, very dumb in so many ways.
Why?
And I've seen this happen in the NFL.
College?
I've seen this happen numerous times in college.
Why do you do this? What is the point?
So for every football player listening to Final Score right now, take some notes. Coach Chris is going to give you some words of wisdom. If you have the ball and nothing but green grass in front of you, make sure that you get all the way into the end zone before dropping the ball and celebrating. Because at the end of the day, you're going to cost your team points, and then you're going to end up with a coach that's going to pull a Tom Izzo on you.
You're going to grab his helmet?
Going, oh. So I remember I had a coach one time, and this is probably one of the craziest things I had ever seen. I saw a coach get so fired up because a player messed up so bad that he grabbed his helmet and started headbutting his helmet. Now, mind you, the coach does not have a helmet on. All right? And the coach is headbutting this player in the helmet, trying to get him pumped up, and headbutted him 3 times and sends the player back out. Now, the coach was bleeding, having, forcibly struck his head against a actual competition football helmet, and didn't think anything of it. Wipes off his forehead, wipes it on his pants, and continues on coaching.
Oh, man. You got to love football coaches, man.
They're a rare breed.
Yeah, a very rare breed. I'll put them up there with MMA fighters.
Yes, very much so.
You got to have...
and the lengths they will go to try and motivate players.
Yeah. Oh, wow. They stood the call at a touchdown.
So after the play was under review, and even though it was clear, the ball was clearly dropped before the line of the end zone line, they still call it a touchdown.
They call that a goal line.
Goal line. What am I talking right now? I'm just flabbergasted. Do not mind me. I can't do anything today still.
Neuheisel can't believe it.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting call, and one we're going to probably talk more about once we get clarification.
That's a momentum shifter, too, because now if they get this 2-point, which they don't get the 2 point. They don't get the 2 point. But they're still down 8 points.
Yep, still down 8, so definitely a one-possession game. Assuming they could get the 2-point conversion if they were to score again.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting to see this because as we watch the replay right now,
the ball is out of his before the goal line.
Yeah, clearly drops the ball before the goal line. So this is going to be a very interesting call, especially for the AAF and their competition committee. So we'll definitely see how all this will play out. So definitely make sure that you check back on our next episode of Final Score because I'm sure we'll have something on this come next week.
Yeah, let's see. We'll see what happens on that. But I can't believe they gave him the touchdown there. That's insane.
And what's funny is that we had talked about previously how the referees are part of a program with the NFL as part of basically a development system for the referees. So it's interesting to see how that plays out because that kind of reminds me of. You remember way back, well, I shouldn't say way back, but I guess it was just about 5-6 years ago where we had that Seattle Green Bay, the touchdown interception call when we had the replacement refs. Do you remember that?
Oh, Seattle Green Bay, the touchdown, no touchdown.
Yep, when you had one ref calling touchdown, the other ref calling no interception.
It was hilarious. That was the epitome of the replacement referees that year.
And what makes me kind of wonder with these referees, since they are going through this development program, if we might see more of this going forward. It's not something I've actually considered until now, but now that we've kind of seen some evidence of this, could this be an issue going forward?
Oh, you're talking about the referees here?
Oh, yes.
I mean, these referees we were talking about before the show that the referees in the AAF, I found out last night, are actually in the NFL developmental program to try to become NFL referees. So this is really interesting that they made this kind of a call, since they are being seen from the NFL's eyes to be potential new referees and probably, I imagine, replay crews as well.
Oh, yes.
So I think this could be an interesting topic of conversation within. I don't think this will ever go public or anything like that.
No, probably not.
In their own meeting rooms and things like that, I think this will definitely be a question mark of, okay, what happened here?
Unless they end up trying to make this a rule type thing where it's, well, we know for Progress is going to the goal line. He's going to be in the end zone. There's no one around him. We knew it was going to happen. Premature celebration probably, maybe call it a non-issue.
Well, what about when there's touchdowns and you have to complete the process of the catch for the touchdown and the guy's coming down, they have the ball clearly in their hand, but then when they hit the ground, the ball pops out.
You do make a very valid point.
I mean, he made the catch already. He's out of bounds. Now he's out of the field of play, but you're punishing him because he already made the catch and it now let go of it. You
make valid points. I think this is something that's going to be very, very scrutinized, honestly.
I.e. the Calvin Johnson rule.
Oh, yes. It's going to be interesting. So definitely make sure you check back next week. Yeah, we'll definitely bring you some updates. But, when we go from one seemingly porous call to another, the AAF has moved their championship game from Las Vegas, Nevada at Sam Boyd Stadium to Frisco, Texas, the Ford Center at the Star.
Yeah, you call this a porous move. I call this calculated.
I don't know. And this is one thing we got to dig into, because the first thing I look at with this entire situation, Sam Boyd Stadium is a 36,000 seat stadium.
Correct.
Now, agreed, this could be maybe a little too much.
It could be, potentially, but Sam Boyd Stadium is also on the campus of where exactly?
UNLV.
Does UNLV ever get 36,000 in their football program?
Well, and considering that UNLV is also going to be playing out of the new Raiders Stadium once it's completed, also kind of just shows how they feel about Sam Boyd Stadium.
It's in dire need of renovation and updating, and from what I've been seeing is that it's definitely behind on where it could be, where it should be as far as other stadiums are concerned. Even other places like the Alamo Dome, they've still been keeping up with it.
Right, and it's been used for a lot of different neutral site games and stuff too. Notre Dame notably has played there a few times.
Yeah,
even so.
But I mean, like if UNLV, it's near the campus of UNLV, and they don't even want their own football program to play in there. Why would you want your championship game to be played there?
Well, because the thing that I look at is that no matter what, the AAF wanted to try and appease their largest sponsor at MGM Resorts International by trying to have a game in Vegas, which I can understand. But maybe Sam Boyd is a little downtrodden, but why move it to only a 12,000-seat practice facility, the Ford Center at the Star, when you could far exceed those numbers? Because when you look at the state of Texas, where the San Antonio Commanders are based, who has had the best attendance at, like you said earlier, 30,000 average, why not try to find a venue that's a little bit larger? Why not maybe try and go play in Austin at DK Memorial, or go play down even in Houston or something?
Hell, why don't even play it at Jerry World?
Why not play it at Jerry World? Well, I think Jerry World might be a little too big for an AAF championship game, but knowing his marketing power, who knows?
Yeah, you're just spitting out stadium names, so I wanted to throw one in there for you.
Might as well. It is in the state of Texas, so
basically,
and they have a very large video screen.
So we're talking about this, trying to set up this segment, and you were looking at it as the capacity of the current game. I don't look at it as they are taking a hit in capacity to attend this one game, but they're looking at it from a perspective of they're setting this up because they're setting it up for the future relationship with the NFL. Because if you're not familiar with what the Ford Center at the Star is, it's the practice facility for the Dallas Cowboys, which is owned by none other than
Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones. owner of the Dallas Cowboys. So they're using this as a springboard for what I believe will inevitably be the announcement, which I've said this on previous episodes, and I'll say it again. Inevitably, at the championship game, I think they're going to announce that the AAF will be an official development league for the NFL, and I think this is another step closer to that because, while the field and the facility can only hold 12,000, it is like its own, I wouldn't say amusement park, but there's a lot of things going on around outside of it. There's actual, there's stations for kids to, throw around the ball with, their family and these things. There's other stuff to do around there. So I think they're looking for more of the event experience versus the actual game itself, along with having one of the most powerful owners still in NFL behind your back, standing behind you.
Well, Jerry Jones has always been an avid supporter of the AAF and everything they've been doing. And which I think was kind of telling when he was at the Combine wearing an Alliance hat. But the thing I look at is that you still need to service your fans. If you are in the state of Texas, having a 12,000 capacity stadium, especially if the San Antonio Commanders were to make that championship game, is just going to be appalling. Sure, they're going to be able to pay premium for it, but why would you do that to your fan base and in the inaugural season of this league? I'm not saying I don't agree with him moving the games. Like we said, Sam Boyd is in dire need of renovations, has a lot of issues with itself. UNLV doesn't even want to be there. But you still need to try and service your fan base, especially if you're going to move it to Texas. Because I understand it's Jerry World, and yes, the Ford Center at the Star and the Star itself is kind of like a big attraction, but is this a development league? Is this a standalone league? Or is this going to become just another attraction of the NFL?
I think they're looking at it. Initially, they say, obviously, they wanted it to be its own league, a standalone league, but I think everyone knew with all the NFL connections that they would eventually try to make it a development league, and I think that is where this is ultimately going to go for them. So I think this is just another logical move in that direction. Again, you're talking about that attending one game. They're looking at the bigger picture, which I understand that. Mm-hmm. So I will take the hit on not potentially filling up a 36,000 stadium. Definitely going to fill up a 12,000 stadium, but it's going to be on CBS, national television. You have the NFL at your back now. Now you have Jerry Jones, who's the most powerful owner, one of them, in the NFL, at your back.
Well, and he owns the most valuable
franchise in the world.
Yes.
Right?
I don't know if it's the world. I think it's top 3, though.
Top 3?
Top 3.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's the what are the European football clubs? Real Madrid is one of them.
Madrid is one. I know they rank up there. Barcelona ranked up there.
Barcelona's up there too. But there's a couple of them.
Still.
The first NFL one's I think 5th or 6th on the list. But
still, Dallas is that first team.
It's the most powerful North American
sports franchise?
Most valuable sports franchise,
yes,
I think.
Most definitely. And I do understand that when you have all that backing and playing to that, but I know you say, oh, I look at the short term. They're kind of looking at the long term. What I see in the short term, yes, is you just got a 12,000 seat stadium versus a 36,000 square seat stadium, which is literally a third of the size. But I look in the long term is that if the NFL ends up making the AAF its development league, does the actual office and board of the AAF pander to the NFL at all times, to where if the NFL say doesn't agree with something that the AAF is doing, are they going to try and force the hand of the AAF to kind of move away from those things? Because one thing I look at is that AAF, one of their biggest sponsors is the MGM Resorts International, and the AAF has been outspoken about trying to have a partnership with gambling, which is now legal in a sense for sports. The NFL, on the other hand, has been an adamant opponent of gambling and sports gambling as a whole. So how does that affect things going forward?
I don't think it affects it too much because they're going to use the NFL would use the AAF, as kind of a breeding ground of experimental stuff, which would be like the rule proposals and things like that. They would test them out in the AAF first, just like the NBA does with the G League. They test things out and try to make things, try to test things out before they bring them up to the big leagues. As far as like the gambling stance, every other league is already not necessarily embracing. They're not necessarily embracing the gambling persona and all the stuff that happens with that. But the NFL is the one that is most outspoken about it. I think this being a big supporter of the AAF, if they were to have a joint partnership with the NFL, there's still going to be two different entities on paper. But I think that would open the door for the MGM Grand. I mean, if the NFL was so against gambling, there's no way they would approve the Raiders to go to Vegas.
That is a very good point.
There's no way in hell that would have worked.
Well, then this also proposes the other side of the question then. Does the NFL use the AAF as a way to be able to break in safely or at least test the waters when it comes to sports gambling?
Oh, yeah, by far. Because the whole thing about the NFL and Roger Goodell is to protect the shield. They're all about protecting the shield.
Oh, definitely.
So why not? What better place to practice these kinds of things is in a league that definitely doesn't make nearly the kind of money that the NFL would and have that kind of influence. So yeah, I'd be all for it if I'm the NFL, is use the AAF as your springboard to try these new things and to try, new partnerships with MGM resorts or other gambling establishments.
That definitely makes a lot of sense. But one thing we definitely can pull from this is the fact that if the Orlando Apollos make the championship game, it'd be a far closer travel for us than it would be going out to Vegas.
It would, and I would love to. Get some tickets and go out there. But unfortunately, I have other family matters to attend to that same weekend. Unfortunately,
Boo.
Yeah, I know, but. But yeah, so I wouldn't even be able to go anyway. Because I was thinking about going to either Frisco or Vegas to go just because.
Well, the thing is, you probably would have had a better chance going to Vegas because I have a feeling now that they're forcing this into a 12,000 seat stadium. Well, not even stadium, a practice facility. That tickets are going to be at a premium.
They're probably already almost sold out.
Probably are at this point.
Since the announcement. But they did announce that anyone that already had tickets for the Vegas championship game, they will be getting a refund. But just for the game, not for any like airfare or anything like that.
Oh, see that?
Because I mean, they don't really have anything to do with that. They just have the game.
Well, unless they were offering any kind of travel packages or anything, and then that gets a little different.
Yeah, then that depends. But yeah. I think they're offering refunds for the game, but they weren't offering tickets. Like transfers, they weren't offering any transfers.
And that's what I find interesting is that
Frisco.
That's what I find interesting. They wouldn't offer any transfers for that because, honestly, as a rabid football fan, anyways, why wouldn't I take a trip to Frisco to go see the game? But you know what? It could come down to the fact that maybe pricing will come into play, and it makes it easier just to issue a bunch of refunds and then start selling tickets again than it does trying to talk people into spending more money for the ticket that they've already bought. Yeah,
they basically. They just want people to rebuy tickets because they know those tickets are going to go super quickly.
Oh yeah,
at the Ford Center. So, why would you want to give away? What if they already had over 12,000 tickets sold for the Vegas championship game? Now you're at capacity already, and you only announced it earlier this week.
But to play devil's advocate, if you already had 12,000 tickets sold for your championship game without any teams until yesterday qualifying for playoffs, nobody's clinched. Why not move it to a bigger facility?
I haven't seen any. I'm obviously just spitballing, but I haven't seen any numbers of how many tickets were actually sold.
No.
It couldn't have been much if they were thinking about moving, and then they decided that they were going to go to a smaller facility. So I can't imagine they were anywhere near that 12,000.
No, I don't believe they were. They were probably lucky to even have maybe 1,000 or two. But the thing I'm looking at is that it I feel can sometimes create an uneasy feeling when it comes to fan bases to where, okay, well, if they're all of a sudden still in their first year going to change the site of their championship game, I feel like there might be a hit in confidence in certain aspects of this. But
perhaps
the AAF might not need to care, just like you said, because the NFL is going to start backing them to this point. The NFL has money for days, and I don't think the AAF is going to have to worry about anything.
Yeah, if they have that partnership and the NFL becomes the money the money bags behind this league, then yeah, they won't have anything to worry about.
Oh yeah, it's definitely some good stuff. But we're still talking about a lot of this NFL influence. The NFL definitely pulls some influence in other areas, including when it comes to good old free agency. Because you know what, we still got that going on, believe it or not.
Yeah, it really kind of died down. Obviously, the frenzy of the first week and even the beginning of last week, we had a few more big names kind of come off the board, if you will. But yeah, we're kind of in a lull now for free agency. And basically the big thing in the NFL is now talking about pro days, and we're almost exactly 1 month out.
Almost
from the NFL draft at the end of April.
So definitely make sure that you stay tuned to all of our social media outlets, onto our Podbean. Keep watching our episodes as we keep coming up with more news and announcements for when we're going to have finally our NFL draft preview show. Finally. God, I can't wait. It's going to be great, and people are just going to lose their minds with the amount of information we're going to throw at them.
Yeah, we haven't really discussed too much about the layout and how far we're going to go in this. How deep are we thinking about this round wise? Are we going like
I'm not saying I'm going to start saying who's getting drafted with the 5th pick in the 6th round or anything, but we are going to take it out a round or two and kind of enjoy it. Maybe try to make our best guess at Mr. Irrelevant, things of that nature. But we'll definitely have some fun with it. So definitely make sure that you guys keep tuned to all of our social media when we make the announcement of when that will be coming to you, and it'll definitely be within the next month.
Yeah, it'll definitely be probably about I would think like a week or so before the draft kicks off. But yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. That's really what the NFL is waiting on now. We're just waiting on getting these pro days done, and guys are prepping, getting ready for the draft, and we'll see a couple more names come off the board in a little bit. But speaking of that board, what do we got?
Well, bringing up our big board here, there's been a few names filled in, a few still out there as well. But one of the biggest ones I feel that has come off this board is good old Justin Houston. Ended up being signed by the Indianapolis Colts to a 2-year, $24 million deal, and help shore up a little bit of that defense to try and help that offense out, because the defense wasn't always the greatest last year.
Yeah, we're seeing some rumors in the days leading up to him signing that would be the most logical destination for him. And we were just talking the day before he signed that the Indianapolis Colts still had a lot of cap room left. They hadn't gone out and gotten anybody. So we were wondering where they would go with their cap room. And Justin Houston's a great addition. Yeah, he's 30 years old, but he's been a bit of a workhorse for the Chiefs the last couple of years. He was coming off an injury a couple of years ago, I believe. But I think he'll be a good addition for that defense. And a 2-year deal, most likely it's another short-term deal for him, but Indy's improving, and they were one of the top teams in the AFC, winning that playoff game and getting to play Kansas City last year. So we'll see what other kind of additions they can make, but good fit, I think, there for Justin Houston.
Oh, most definitely. And I definitely see this Indy front office making a few more moves to try and round out this team and push them to the next level. But another big signing that I saw was tight end Jared Cook, after being let go and walking away from the Raiders, has signed a 2-year, $10.6 million deal with the New Orleans Saints.
Great fit.
That is a great fit. Jared Cook, I think, is going to be a huge piece for Drew Brees to throw to, especially once you can't get all those balls down to those wide receivers deep and having crazy things happen like pass interference, no calls. And anyways, all that aside, but still, Jared Cook is going to be a great addition, especially since how I feel they haven't really had a tight end that could really fit in there since Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham, yeah. They have so Jared Cook has been pretty productive for the Raiders, even last year when they struggled on offense. He was decently productive, but I don't see him being like a league leader in the tight end category or anything, but he'll definitely be a reliable target to go for Drew Brees to go to downfield. But yeah, he should be a good fit. He'll help open up that offense and help the receivers take some pressure off of them. And we'll see if they try to add any more any more depth on the offensive side. Maybe in the draft, they draft another running back to help with Kamara, or draft a younger tight end. They use what's the guy's name? Taysom Hill.
Oh yes, Taysom Hill,
the quarterback that they
the
use
one out of
as
BYU
they use him as a quarterback and H-back and
use him as everything.
wing.
Really, I've seen him catch passes, throw passes.
Yeah, I've seen him put as a tight end. He's been a QB. He's been like a wildcat back.
I've seen him in the slot. I've seen him just about everywhere.
He's the Swiss Army knife of that offense.
He really is a Swiss Army knife, and it's pretty crazy when you look at that and you still think that, man, they got Teddy Bridgewater sitting back there too.
Yeah, that would be something, wouldn't it?
Oh yes, but another big pickup that I saw was the Dallas Cowboys going out and getting Randall Cobb. Now I know Cobb's aging a little bit, but I think he could still always be a great producer. I was kind of surprised that Green Bay moved on from him, but it could be a wonderful addition for a young quarterback like Dak Prescott, who's trying to find some weapons in this otherwise depleted wide receiver core. Yeah,
he's getting older. If I'm not mistaken, he was battling injury this last year too.
Yes.
So for the amount of money that he probably was asking for, or maybe just the front office at Green Bay just wanted to move on from him indefinitely, and just kind of move on to the next chapter. I think they're just, I'm not sure what they're doing, to be honest with you. Green Bay, because it seems like every year they just put a hodgepodge of players around Aaron Rodgers and say, here you go, work your magic. We're not going to spend any money. Have fun.
Yeah, be Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and then basically you see guys like Jordy Nelson, was traded last year, I believe, and then Randall Cobb's leaving. They have Clay Matthews went to the Rams, the LA Rams, within the past
Yeah,
week.
he just signed a 2-year, $9.25 million deal.
Yep. I forget who's their big receiver they have now in Green Bay. He was their number one receiver. I see the name, I'll kick myself.
And that's the funny thing that we're sitting here wondering, because I feel like that wide receiver core has been so depleted for so long that even though you might have a number one, he's not truly a number one. And that's the thing I look at is that the receiver core is something that's been thinning ever since Green Bay won the Super Bowl. And if they can actually
Davante Adams,
yes. And Davante Adams isn't bad, but
he's their big receiver. I mean, he's the number one guy now.
But he's not like great. And that's the thing they need. And Quantum St. Brown, former Notre Dame grad, he's a wonderful addition, but he's young. He's a big physical receiver, but very, very young.
Just because he's a Notre Dame guy, you had to point him out.
Well, I had to point him out. They have him number 2, so Quantum St. Brown would make a good number 2.
Davante Adams has got to make sure he stays healthy, though, because if I remember correctly, last year, part of the reason he wasn't having as good of a year as he was because of injury. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't care. You could have Jeff Janis out there.
Wow,
out there at wide receiver. And he's still Aaron Rodgers is going to find guys to throw to, but I mean, you're only going to piss him off.
Yes.
And inevitably get him to leave. And now the Packers, which would then drop to one of the worst teams in the league because they don't have a whole lot of a defense. Their offense is Aaron Rodgers and maybe Davante Adams when he's healthy, and that's it.
Aaron Rodgers and friends.
Aaron Rodgers and friends. But they got rid of Mike McCarthy, so we'll see if that changes the offense and the play calling and the strategy there a little bit. But I don't know. It just seems like they're just content with just not spending a whole lot of money and just seeing what happens.
But that's
They did make some defensive pickups this year, though, with Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith. They picked up some defensive players finally, but yeah, they picked him up, but now you have nothing for Aaron Rodgers to work with on offense outside of Davante Adams.
And I think that's what's really going to kill them is the fact that if you don't have an offense that can go, it doesn't matter what you get on defense. And it's nice to have a good defense, but we've seen plenty of teams, plenty of times, be able to win games with no defense. We look at last season, you ended up with that Kansas City Chiefs LA Rams game where it ended up being an utter shootout.
Yeah.
So if you have a bigger offense, you can win games. The old adage of defense wins championships is true, but guess what? Offense wins games. And that's part of the old adage too. So if you don't fill your cupboard with the type of weapons,
Adages, huh?
I'm sorry?
Two old adages.
2 old adages. I love it. But if you don't fill that cupboard with enough weapons for Aaron Rodgers to throw to and be able to try and make some kind of offense work, you're not going to have anything. And the Green Bay front office is going to learn that fast, quick, and in a hurry when they come out next season and fall flat on their face.
Yeah, I think they'll still be able to win games if that defense can mesh well early.
If
they can mesh well early, we'll see how that does, because the offenses in the NFC North are no slouches. You've got Chicago, which looks really good, surprisingly, out of nowhere.
Khalil Mack.
Their offense, I mean.
Khalil Mack.
Khalil Mack doesn't play offense.
Khalil Mack does it all.
He could do it all.
If you didn't notice, they have special helmets for Mitchell Trubisky, and you'll just see Khalil Mack sitting in a little tent off to the side with a little tablet.
Oh, so that's what it is. So he's like a drone.
Yeah, he's just like a drone.
He's just controlling
making
him?
magic happen.
Wow, he's a really good drone operator.
That's what I'm saying. He's just making magic happen.
Yeah, and you got the Lions always have a decent amount of weapons to make some noise, whether they can win games or not with them. But and then Minnesota, they still have Adam Thielen and I'm forgetting the other receiver's name.
They have a lot of receivers over there because they have the old Miss product that hasn't really quite unfolded yet. What was the other one? There's so many receivers there, I feel like now.
Not really.
Why can't we think of anything right now? We're just having that kind of a day.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, basketball's on our mind is what's going on.
Well, basketball and AAF, because we're seeing the San Diego Fleet now has pulled within 8 of Arizona and is currently driving the ball and have just busted a huge run. Oh, look at that. Made about half field there. So definitely going to be interesting how this game ends. But
have you ever done play-by-play commentary?
I actually have.
That's amazing.
I have done a little bit of
You're
play-by-play.
so good at it.
You should see me when
you should stick to podcasting.
You should see me when I do color commentary for wrestling shows.
Well, that one doesn't surprise me because you got
that's more exciting than me doing play-by-play.
Yeah, you got the personality for that. You know?
Yeah, just because I can yell at people really loud and tell them how crappy they are. I can't do that with this. But the other receiver you were thinking of was Stephon Diggs.
That's what I was thinking.
The answer was Stephon Diggs.
Yeah,
but yeah,
Diggs.
between Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Ole Miss product Laquan Treadwell, they definitely got some weapons, so they can make things happen. I don't. It's very interesting with Minnesota that they ended up making a quarterback switch, and how'd that work out for them? Not to crap on the Vikings or anything right now, but anyways.
They're still doing okay. They got, you're expecting that a quarterback in a brand new system is going to have some kind of adjustment period in order to get the offense going.
Peyton Manning got things going in Denver in his first year.
Peyton Manning is a god, okay?
He just turned 43 years old. Happy birthday, Peyton Manning.
Happy birthday, Peyton Manning from FinalScore.
That's right.
But so back to the original question of Randall Cobb and his fit in Dallas. I think that's another good weapon for Dak Prescott to be able to go to.
Oh, definitely.
But is it really going to be a game-changing thing? They're probably just making up for the loss of Cole Beasley.
More than likely.
Cobb, I think, is going to be a good fill-in. He's not going to be their number one guy.
Well, that Mike Williams Terrence Williams, I'm sorry, is gone now too, isn't he? So you look at that. Yeah. Really, what do you have for wide receiver help? But you also have to think getting Randall Cobb does kind of help in a certain amount. But you also have Jason Witten coming in and coming back, I should say. So I think they'll be able to find a few ways to be able to alleviate pressure, especially when you have Zeke running in the backfield. So I think Dallas will find a way, just hopefully not against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting offense because I forgot they re-signed Tavon Austin as well.
Yes, they did.
They brought Tavon Austin back. Allen Hurns is coming off of injury. And Amari Cooper he played very, very well at the end of that year.
Yes.
Last year. So,
oh, yes.
Just adding more weapons for Dak Prescott on offense. Dallas is really this is a make or break year for Garrett.
Oh, yes.
As the head coach.
And I think going into this year, he's going to have a lot of, like you see, he has a lot of weapons. You got Amari Cooper and Allen Hurns, Tavon Austin. Now you have Randall Cobb coming in, Jason Witten coming back. You still got Zeke in the backfield, and it's still probably one of the better offensive lines in the league. So if you can't make it work with that, you don't need to be coaching.
Well,
you got a good defense too.
More so that he's got a good defense, and
defense.
It's his last year of his contract, and I have a feeling that Jerry Jones is trying to kind of butter up that offense a little bit Because he's waiting for next offseason when Sean Payton, his contract is up with the New Orleans Saints.
I don't see Sean Payton leaving New Orleans, though. And
you don't
not,
think so?
Not because of money and not because of it not being a good fit. I think Sean Payton could be very successful in Dallas. However,
despite the fact that Sean Payton was an assistant and the offensive coordinator,
even despite because of the fact of the history Sean Payton has been able to establish with the New Orleans Saints, having been through the Katrina situation, being able to have Breeze come in when he was thinking about going to Miami after leaving San Diego, being able to pull off their only Super Bowl win ever. I think that Sean Payton now has a relationship that's so tightly knit with New Orleans, with the community, with everything. He is so a part of that franchise and everything that New Orleans is now that he is a local hero. Mm-hmm. He means so much to the city of New Orleans. And I just don't see him being able to just walk away from that.
Yeah, it'll be up to him. It'll be up to him if he wants to leave or not, because I think the Bensons will open up the pocketbook for him.
The Bensons love him.
Yeah, they'll open up the pocketbook for him. So it'll be up to him if he wants to leave that situation and go to another, another stepping stone and get try another challenge. We'll see what happens. We're talking about NFL news right now. I just had some breaking news as of a couple hours ago here. Rob Gronkowski is announcing his retirement from the New England Patriots after 9 seasons.
Oh, my goodness.
This was from Jeremy Bergman, who's an Around the NFL writer for NFL.com. This was published about 3 p.m. on Sunday. So that's a big loss for them. So if they weren't already looking for a tight end in the draft, they're probably going to look for a tight end now.
Well, the big news, I don't know if you caught a little bit of this, is that apparently before Jared Cook signed with the New Orleans Saints, the New England Patriots were trying to make a big push to try and get him to come to New England so they could try and offset a possibility of Gronkowski leaving. Now that Gronkowski is leaving and he is done and retired, Patriots are really going to have to come up with some kind of answers. There are some good tight ends in the draft, but that only goes so deep.
Well, I mean, if you get one in the first round, it's not going to matter. If you get a guy that you like in the first round, who cares? Because the top 3 tight ends, who are the basically that's the whole class, those 3 guys, they're still going to be there at the end of the first round.
Yes.
Hawkinson and Font will probably go really early, but Irv Smith Jr. will probably be there near the end of the first round. But it's we'll see what happens. The Patriots, this is what their MO is. They take guys that nobody else wants, or guys that other teams don't expect much out of, under the radar guys, and they make the most of them.
And they always have done that, whether it ends up being the best NFL player or the bag boy that bagged all your groceries yesterday at your local grocery store. The New England Patriots find a way to make winners.
The one thing I want to highlight about this, Gronk isn't even officially 30 yet. He's still 29 for a few months.
Yep.
And he's retiring.
Yep.
For 9 NFL seasons.
9 NFL seasons. But you also got to remember, he's been injured a lot throughout his career.
He has been injured quite a bit.
And that's the big thing I know that he's been saying for the past few years that has always come into account is the fact that he has had a lot of injuries and he doesn't know if he can physically keep on going. Now, I always felt that he wanted to try and win one more Super Bowl before hanging it up. And I felt after watching New England beat the Rams and win the Super Bowl this past season that this was it. And now I'm right. So, haha.
You never had that prediction on the show, though. So.
I didn't. I know. So it doesn't count for anything.
So it doesn't count for anything.
But it's okay.
If a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, did it actually happen?
I mean, it does still happen. Just like cap situations always happen every year. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at some of these NFL teams and their cap situations.
I love your segues sometimes. They're great.
I do what I can.
I love them. They're great.
I really
don't ever change. Don't ever change.
I'll do what I can.
Do what we can.
But just like everybody else who tries to do what they can, we look at this cap space situation and see the Indianapolis Colts are still sitting atop of the heap by a wide margin.
Yeah, they got a lot of money to spend yet, and I don't think they're not going to spend a lot here on out.
I really don't think they are either. I think they're going to draft who they want, maybe try to make a big move, maybe. But beyond that, I still think they're going to have this season with a lot of room. But that kind of beckons the question: if they go through, they got who they want now. Now they go through the draft, get who they need, and then shore up the loose ends. Do you think maybe they're going to wait until maybe sometime in the season to make a big play for somebody?
The only thing I'm thinking of is that the fact that they have so much cap room and they're not making a lot of noise in the free agency period is that they're probably trying to free up cap space to make a big trade for somebody that is a big name that takes up a lot of cap space. That's the only thing that sticks out in my mind.
OBJ.
Yeah, they're a little late on that one.
Oh, yes. They
Oh,
are.
yeah.
Well, I don't know. We've seen players get traded 2 or even 3 times in an offseason. So,
but either
Brock Osweiler.
Either that or, Jim Irsay just wants to save some beverage money for himself.
Well, he definitely is going to need it with the way he parties. But as we look further down this list, we have the Houston Texans sitting number 2 with a little over $43 million in their cap space. The Texans, though, are sitting pretty good at quarterback with Deshaun Watson. You're looking pretty at wide receiver for the most part. Maybe could use another weapon. Your running game, it's kind of there, but I think the Texans have a lot of room to make some noise. Yeah,
they got Lamar Miller, who's been serviceable for them, and he does what they need him to do. So, if anything, if you're the Texans, don't go out and sign a running back. Just draft them.
Oh, yes.
You just draft guys that you want. But the notable thing is that Indy and Houston, both being on the top of this cap space list, also made the playoffs last year.
Very interesting thing to note.
And look at all the other teams that are on that list. None of the other teams on this list have made the playoffs.
No.
So the fact that Indy and Houston are doing this while making the playoffs last year and also are at the top of the cap space board, that means they can only get better from here. And watch out, AFC South. So
I was about to say, that's another interesting fact that both these teams are coming out of the same division as well.
Yeah. So, and with the Jags getting better at the position that matters most at quarterback, and then you have the Tennessee Titans, who did a lot of under the radar moves, but they were great for their system and what they want. So
definitely.
So we'll have to see what happens. It's great. Everybody talks about how much better they get in the offseason and the draft coming up. So I think watch out for these two teams just because of the fact that they have so much cap space. They could make big moves, and they both made the playoffs. So that's a really interesting set.
Well, there's a couple teams, though, as you look further down this list that have to be notated on, and that's the Cleveland Browns and the Oakland Raiders sitting 4 and 5 on this list with 35 and 33 million each. I find that very interesting. Cleveland looks completely loaded right now, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And now they have all this cap space. Where does Cleveland go from here?
Depth. That's really all you need to do from here. Depth on the offensive line. You have the receivers that you want. You have the running backs you want. You have the quarterback you want. You have a tight end that you want. So probably a lot of depth, both on offense and defense from the offensive line. You can never have too many weapons on defense because of how you can get guys in and out. And you can never have too much of a pass rush. So kind of using that as a board to kind of go into who's available, they could still look at some of the guys that are out there, either edge rushers or even some of the linebackers that are still out there. You'll notice a lot of these guys on this big board are defensive players.
Oh, yeah.
So you can never have too much defense. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns go out and pick up maybe a Ziggy Ansah or a Shane Ray or somebody who's a guy that they want to bring in just for depth purposes.
I definitely could see them doing that, especially when you look at this. Like you said, there's a lot of defensive players on here. Eric Berry's even still sitting out there. Of course, like you said, edge rushers like Derek Morgan and Nick Perry still out there too. So Cleveland definitely probably does need that depth most on the defensive side. Offense seems pretty solid all the way through at this point. I could see them really going not only defensive heavy in depth for free agency here on out if needed, but also going defensive heavy in the draft. One thing Cleveland has not always been known for is amazing defense. Well, honestly,
last year.
Well, that was the first time in how many years? Right. So, they haven't always been known for that. But like you said, the defense did come on last year. But you have to keep it sustained, and to be able to do so, you need to add depth. So I definitely agree with you. I think they're going to go that route, add a little bit of depth. But going back to the cap space over here, the Oakland Raiders ended up making that huge mega trade for Antonio Brown and have seemingly found their wide receiver, at least for the next little while, for Derek Carr to throw to. So the offense, at least with one wide receiver, seemed pretty solid. But outside that, they don't have a whole lot left in the cupboard as well. You have running backs that are aged well beyond their years to the point that they are nice, fried, and crispy, need to be taken out of the oven and thrown away. So Oakland does have needs on the offensive side still. When we look at the defensive side, nothing will fill the void known as Khalil Mack. So I know Oakland at this point is going to be trying to get whatever they can defensively, especially through the draft, to try and shore that up. But where do you see Oakland ultimately spending this money to try and shore up what they have?
I don't think they really do much outside of the draft, honestly. They need a lot more help everywhere, but they just picked up Vontaze Burfict that was let go of from the Bengals. Mm-hmm. They picked him up on I believe a 1-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been a 2-year deal, but I believe it was a 1-year deal. That's a guy that they're going to use. Their defensive coordinator worked with him in Cincinnati, so that's a guy they want to get a lot out of. Mm-hmm. I just see them using their draft picks to get all the draft picks they've accumulated from those trades to shore up what they need to shore up.
Yeah, Oakland's definitely going to need that help, especially after the dismal season they had last year. But, bringing Antonio Brown's a very splashy move. So I feel Oakland's going to have a lot of excitement to try and make the best moves they can moving forward. Excuse me. But looking down the rest of this board, I don't have a lot of faith in some of these teams to make the right decision. Buffalo Bills, had the AB back out situation. The Detroit Lions are the Detroit Lions, as the Dolphins being also the ultimate tank team and the first ever to actually do it publicly. So I don't.
They haven't actually publicly said they're going to tank.
Well, they haven't publicly said, but I feel like you've made it pretty obvious you're trying to tank at this point. But someone's going to tank for Tua. So. And then you got the crime-ridden the Cincinnati Bengals.
Not anymore.
Yes, they're cleaned up now.
They're cleaning up.
They're the straight edge Bengals now. So, but the Cincinnati Bengals, they still need a lot of help. Andy Dalton and AJ Green's about all I feel like you really have on offense anymore. So it's very interesting when you're looking at this to see what these teams are going to do. But still a lot of time between now and the draft. So
yeah, lots of off season left. You got the draft and everything. So. Plenty of time for these teams to get the guys that they want. And, we'll have to wait and see what happens in the draft.
Yes, we'll definitely have to wait and see. But another thing we're going to have to wait and see on is the rest of this episode because we have to cut the break and get a little bit of word in from our sponsors. So definitely make sure you stay tuned as we'll come back with a new segment. And a new segment. So definitely make sure that you stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The following support and sponsor Podcast City Network. City Limits Tap Room, sports bar in DeLand, Florida, has brew on tap, serve food, the grilled cheese is excellent. For upcoming events check out City Limits Tap Room on Facebook.com/City Limits Tap Room. Atlantic Sounds has thousands of new and used vinyl records and CDs. If they don't have it they can order it for you. Same location since 1982. For more updates on what's new, check out Atlantic Sounds on Facebook.com/Atlantic Sounds Vinyl. Sports Sanity Customs have worked with organizations from custom embroidering polo shirts to jerseys for your kids' baseball team. They do it all. Armed with state-of-the-art equipment and an in-house design team, they are equipped to take on your next project. Visit their website to learn more, sportsanitycustoms.com. Visit Sports Sanity Customs on Facebook.com/Sports Sanity Customs. 3 Count Design offers a wide range of graphic design products, video, photography and other forms of media. Everything from t-shirt designs to websites. Visit Facebook.com/3 Count Design for more. Demo Blast Studios, an explosion of imagination. Original artwork, podcasts, video, apparel and more. Visit demoblaststudios.com. Visit Demoblast Studios on Facebook.com/Demoblast Studios, the best family entertainment pro wrestling show in the state of Kentucky. Kentucky's Own Wrestling brings quality family vintage wrestling to a town near you. Kentucky's Own Wrestling offers a ladies division in wrestling and a training school. Kentucky's Own Wrestling is the current longest running Southern promotion. Visit facebook.com/Somerset Kentucky Zone Wrestling. All supporters and sponsors are brought to you by Podcast City Network.
And we are back here on Final Score. Chris and Craig bringing you the latest in sports news across all spectrum of sports, whether it be football, hockey, baseball. Doesn't matter. We'd like to try and talk about it all. But one thing that we like to do is bring in new segments.
Yeah, we're always looking for ways that, not only ways that are fun for us, but are fun for you as a listener. So we want to create kind of a new segment that maybe it's something, maybe it's not necessarily fits into the regular format of our show, but we still want to highlight it in some way, shape, or form, whether it's good or bad. So one of those that we're talking about is a new segment that we will air called Round of Applause. So Round of Applause, this segment is going to be, we would just go back and forth, and we're going to talk about, we may talk about a story or two each that doesn't fit into our regular show format, but we want to applaud this, whether it's something in the sports realm or something sports related, but something we want to highlight and kind of give our round of applause to.
That's right. So the first thing we're going to start off with is the recent news that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have hired not one, but two full-time female coaches to their staff. And I think this is such a huge move. Huge move. Try and break that wall of gender equality and be able to get women more into coaching positions in sports. So he went out and got Moral Javadafaris, an assistant strength and conditioning coach now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
We apologize if he butchered that name.
I do apologize. I do try my best, but if you see me try and talk any NBA, you will fully understand. But they also hired Lori Locust as an assistant defensive line coach, who was most recently was a defensive line assistant coach, a defensive line coach for the Birmingham Iron.
In the Alliance, yeah.
In the Alliance. I'm actually looking at an article right now that was put out by the Alliance talking about Lori and the great work that she did with the Alliance. And it's really great to notate that, if I'm not mistaken, Lori also was a intern for the Baltimore Ravens during their 2018 training camp.
Yeah, during training camp last year. We've seen a little bit more of this in the last few years. Bruce Arians also did this when he was in Arizona. He was the first coach to hire a female staff in the NFL in general. I can't remember off the top of my head. I believe it was one along the lines.
It was a doctor that he had brought in as an assistant coach.
That's what it was
in the 2015 season.
Yeah, so he's not he's very familiar with doing this kind of thing. But yeah, I'm glad that they decided to go ahead and do this. And props to them. Kudos to them.
Yeah, most definitely, because it's really great to see that they're trying to make these kinds of changes in football, because football has always been a male-dominated sport. But there's been plenty of female leagues and female coaches who've come through the ranks and been able to put on great games, put on great stats, great games, a whole 9 yards. But the thing you look at is that because of the Bill Walsh Diversity Fellowship and trying to bring in these new waves of multi-gendered, multi-ethnic people to be in coaching positions inside the NFL, I think this is great. It's better than just doing the Rooney Rule, where you go and just interview minority coaches for these positions to fill a quota. I think that's horrible. The Rooney Rule is a failure. But having something like this, the Bill Walsh Diversity Fellowship, trying to really bring in new coaches, I think is proven to be somewhat successful, at least, because now you've seen not one but two women get hired by an actual professional franchise, and that is unprecedented. So I wish them both the utmost luck. I think both of them can be very, very successful, and hopefully this will pave the way for more women to come into coaching in football.
Yeah, that's we're looking forward to seeing if more teams end up will go this route. So again, yeah, props to Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Bruce Arians and his staff, and to both of those women who are well deserving of those positions. Most definitely.
But we do have another story. I feel that it also deserves a round of applause. What do you have, Craig?
Yeah, my story for the round of applause segment is about Ryan Leaf, the former NFL quarterback, played at Washington State, drafted by the San Diego Chargers, was a draft bust, and was out of the league for quite a while. Went to jail for a couple of years, and basically while in prison, started to seriously turn his life around. And now earlier this week, he was a guest host on the Rich Eisen show on Audience Sports, and on Rich Eisen's show there. I believe it was last Tuesday, the 19th, and he brought up his background story and kind of what it took for him to get now into where he's at, which is having the opportunity to guest host on this show. And everybody loves to hear about a guy that or woman that turns around their life and does something productive, and they know what they've done and they've tried to make those amends, and they get their life turned around. So bravo to him. He talked about how he had to get back into where he is. He called up Fox Sports, and basically one of his connections called in a favor and asked him to interview. Didn't even ask him for a job. He said, just get me an email or an interview or something, and I'll do it from there. He called up one of the people at, I believe at Fox Sports, and he said, like, hey, I don't even care if you have me carry Joel Klatt's coffee and bring it to him. He's like, I just want to come in and learn and do the best I can and work my way up. So their response was, all right, Joel likes 2 cream, 1 sugar. so that's how he started. He started running coffee for Joel Klatt and working there. And now he's worked his way up. He now is an analyst for the Pac-12 network. He has worked his way up, and now there's actually a segment. We actually shared it on our Twitter account, and we will share it on Facebook as well. Once we get that media link, and definitely check that out. And
really good story, really good piece.
Yeah, very, very good story. Very good piece about him guest hosting and blowing up on the reporter. He even kind of jokes about it a little bit himself, and he has such a great outlook on life from what he's been through to what he does now. So I'm looking forward to hearing more from him.
Absolutely.
And seeing what he does from here.
I mean, given everything that he went through, it's definitely an interesting piece. Everybody should check it out. Just make sure you pop on over to our Twitter at PCN Final Score and check it out. Ryan Leaf, I feel, has definitely went through trials and tribulations to be able to get to this point, and I'm very happy to see that he's been able to rebound in such a way.
Yeah, it's been great for him to make that turnaround, and bravo to him. So that's my round of applause.
Yes, and
story for today.
It was a great round of applause. Definitely make sure that you go check out both these stories, and we'll try to bring you more great stories. They don't necessarily always fit into our format, but still need the recognition they deserve. You'll see in this segment. So definitely make sure to check back next time for our next round of applause. But for right now, though, we're going to take one more quick break before we move into some big Major League Baseball news. So definitely make sure that you stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
The following support and sponsor Podcast City Network. City Limits Tap Room, sports bar in DeLand, Florida, has brew on tap, serve food, the grilled cheese is excellent. For upcoming events, check out City Limits Tap Room on Facebook.com/City Limits Tap Room. Atlantic Sounds has thousands of new and used vinyl records and CDs. If they don't have it, they can order it for you. Same location since 1982. For more updates on what's new, check out Atlantic Sounds on Facebook.com/Atlantic Sounds Vinyl. Sports Sanity Customs have worked with organizations from custom embroidering polo shirts to jerseys for your kids' baseball team. They do it all. Armed with state-of-the-art equipment and an in-house design team, they are equipped to take on your next project. Visit their website to learn more, sportsanitycustoms.com. Visit Sports Sanity Customs on Facebook.com/Sports Sanity Customs. 3 Count Design offers a wide range of graphic design products, video, photography and other forms of media. Everything from t-shirt designs to websites. Visit facebook.com/3countdesign for more. Demo Blast Studios, an explosion of imagination. Original artwork, podcasts, video, apparel and more. Visit demoblaststudios.com. Visit Demo Blast Studios on facebook.com/demoblaststudios, the best family entertainment pro wrestling show in the state of Kentucky. Kentucky's Own Wrestling brings quality family vintage wrestling to a town near you. Kentucky's Own Wrestling offers a ladies division in wrestling and a training school. Kentucky's Own Wrestling is the current longest running Southern promotion. Visit facebook.com/Somerset Kentucky's Own Wrestling. All supporters and sponsors are brought to you by Podcast City Network.
And we are back here on Final Score. Chris and Craig bringing you the latest. And the latest that we have is going to be some Major League Baseball news. And even though I sounded really happy right there, we actually do have something kind of a little sad to touch on. And that is the fact that the one and only Ichiro Suzuki is going to be retiring.
Yeah, so Ichiro let the organization of the Seattle Mariners, he had informed them the other day that he would be, in fact, retiring from Major League Baseball at the conclusion of their 2-game homestand in Tokyo at the Tokyo Dome, where it all started for Ichiro. Mm-hmm. And it was a really, really awesome scene. We actually shared all that on our Twitter account as well. It was a really cool scene. He had played throughout the game, and then in the 8th inning, when the team was taking the field, they let Ichiro run out to right field by himself. The rest of the field stayed in the dugout, and they basically gave him a huge curtain call.
Huge curtain call.
He was out there in right field, and basically they let him run out there. They gave him a huge standing ovation, lasted for several minutes. He trotted back in. All of his teammates met with him in the dugout, and it was a very emotional, very heartfelt goodbye for one of the greatest baseball players to ever play the game, in my opinion. And it's kind of a great fitting end to Ichiro's career.
Absolutely. This guy's been playing baseball since he was professionally since he was 18 years old. But you look at some of the stats he had, even in his rookie season, as you can see right here in our graphic, when he came out in 2001, ended up being the AL MVP, the AL Rookie of the Year, had a batting average of .35. That's amazing. He led the MLB that year also with 242 hits, 56 stolen bases. This guy was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, he had come off of his career in Japan, and he lit it up. You don't ever see that, a player coming in for their rookie season already being a 9-year pro, first of all. Mm-hmm. But he was not only the Rookie of the Year, but was that AL MVP. He also won the Silver Slugger, the Golden Glove. He was an All-Star that year. He was like, I'm trying to think of a comparison, but basically it was basically like when Yao Ming came over.
Oh yeah,
for the NBA, but it was bigger.
It was bigger. Ichiro was such a prominent player because Yao Ming was great when he came over, as your comparison suggests, but wasn't able to achieve the things to the level of what Ichiro was able to do. Because even if you look over at the 10 years between 2001 2010, had over 200 hits. 10 straight years, 200 hits each season, led Major League Baseball in 5 straight years in hits. He has 3,089 total hits all time, which is good for 22nd all time, 10 Gold Gloves. The guy is lightning in a bottle and has done so much for anybody he's ever suited up for.
Yeah, Ichiro's had a phenomenal career. You were talking about how he led the MLB. He had it for 5 straight years of over 200 hits, and he led the league in hits for 5 straight years. Mm-hmm. He had at most, he had 262 hits in one season in 2004. And he had a 372 batting average. He batted .372 in 2004. That is insane. It is hard for players to stay over 300,
Right.
let alone hit almost 400.
That's what I'm saying. If you're hitting over 3, you're considered a damn good hitter. And you have a guy like this batting almost 4? That's insane. And it just goes to show to the type of talent that Ichiro actually had. And we're going to go ahead. We're going to look over here at some of his numbers in his first 9 years as a pro when he was playing in Japan. He started playing in 1992 Pacific League. 94, for that league, he set the single season record with 210 hits and became that first player ever to record 200 hits and batted .385. That is insane.
The crazier stat about that is that those 210 hits, he did that in only 130 games.
That's crazy.
A couple other players, we were looking into his statistics in the Pacific League. A couple other players also hit over 200 since then, but they have all done it with at least 140 game seasons. He did it with only 130. And he was, like I said, the first player to ever hit over 200 hits in one season. Finished his 9-year career with 1,278 hits, 353 batting average in the Pacific League. But one of the things that I want to talk about his MLB career, he averaged every season 66 strikeouts a year, which is unprecedentedly low for most MLB players. I mean, look at guys like, I'm trying to think of who the league leader in strikeouts last year in MLB last year was, but I remember it was well over, I think it was over like 200.
Oh, yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yes. And it's crazy when you look at it. I just can't believe the type of play he's been able to sustain for such a long period of time, because now I believe we look up, he was 45. He's 45 years old now.
Yeah, he's 45. He was still playing at 44 last year.
Right.
Better than some athletes that are playing baseball have ever played that are in their 20s.
I know, and it's just amazing to see what he's been able to keep going for such a long period of time. I still think that he could still play. I think Ichiro at this point just kind of maybe wanted to step away. I think maybe he thought it was time. We're in 2019. I come from a different generational player, but I still think he could do well today if he would have stayed on. But maybe he just wants to kind of go out on top.
I think that's what it was. So I think he kind of knew his stats over the last couple of years have been dwindling quite a bit. Mm-hmm. He only played 2018. He only played in 15 games for Seattle. Played in 136 games for Miami in 2017. So his games had been dropping the last couple of years.
Definitely.
But you can see his stats really, really have dropped over the last 5 or 6 years. We're talking about the league leader in strikeouts last year. Giancarlo Stanton had 211. The leader was I forget his first name, but it's Moncada. Yoan Moncada from the Chicago White Sox had 217. Ichiro averaged only 66 strikeouts a year.
That's insane. Just absolutely insane
over his career. So that's definitely, not only is this a big this was a big thing for Major League Baseball to have someone like him to come over from Japan and kind of open the door for other players. I mean, the Ohtani is the big one right now.
Oh, yeah.
Came over. He both plays. He both bats and pitches. A couple other people that have come across, and like Hideo Nomo is another one off the top of my head. But he opened the door for a lot of players coming over from Japan. So it's really going to be sad to see him go, but what a career for Ichiro Suzuki.
Absolutely, and it's going to be sad to see him go, and we wish him all the best in his future endeavors. Yeah, but like I said, we're definitely sad to see him go, because I still feel he could keep on doing it. But at some point, you have to.
He knew time was ready for him. Yeah. 45 years old.
45 years old.
The only other player in any sport that's played for that long is Brett Favre.
Well, I don't know. We got Tom Brady pushing.
Tom Brady's up
there. It's good old TB12. But yeah, Brett Favre, I think, would be the consensus at this point. But this does beg the question: is Ichiro a unanimous Hall of Fame candidate?
So this was a conversation that's been on a lot of talk shows, sports talk shows, over the last couple days since the announcement came out that Ichiro was going to retire. I think he's definitely going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about that. But the question was brought up: is he the unanimous Hall of Famer, or is he the next unanimous Hall of Famer? Because Mariano Rivera was the first and only unanimous Hall of Famer this year. I don't think he's the next unanimous, but I think he will be unanimous once he does get on the ballot in 5 years. But I think he'll be the next unanimous.
I think he could be the next unanimous.
I'm sorry, not the next one. The next one after that, because Derek Jeter's coming up.
That's true.
Derek Jeter's going to be unanimous.
I think Derek Jeter will be unanimous, just given the impact he left on the sport as a whole, and also when you play for the New York Yankees, that usually kind of helps too. But at the end of the day, when Ichiro does go in, I think he will be a unanimous Hall of Fame candidate. I think he will go right in, no questions asked, first ballot unanimous, just because of not only the impact he left on the sport and being able to open the gateway for Japanese players to make their way over into the major leagues, but also just because of the high level of play he's had over the 18 years that he was in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I know it's the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, but they should just change it to just Baseball Hall of Fame, because
they should.
If you take into account all of his lifetime stats from Japan and the major leagues here in the States, he had 4,367 hits, which surpasses the great Pete Rose. And of course, Pete Rose doesn't want to know that.
Is Pete Rose really that great though? I mean, he denies gambling.
Yeah, he denies that Ichiro actually has more hits than him.
Of course he does.
Because it's Pete Rose.
It's Pete Rose.
He's got that ego.
He just needs to go get tombstoned by Kane again. He'll be all right.
Oh, I hope that stuff ends. I hope that celebrity stuff ends.
The comical side of WWE.
Will. It never will.
But at the end of the day,
I hope he definitely is a unanimous Hall of Famer. He's definitely gonna be first ballot.
Oh yes.
But yeah, we'll hopefully see that in the coming years. Hopefully this will be another conversation we can have.
Absolutely.
But going from potential Hall of Famer to someone that's already being dubbed to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh yes.
In his young career, Mike Trout got an extension with the Angels, the Los Angeles Angels, Anaheim Angels, whoever knows what the hell they call themselves this year.
Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Whatever, it's the same thing. Get your crap together, LA. But so the LA Angels gave him a 12-year, $426.5 million extension this week. Holy crap.
Holy crap indeed. I hope he called a Brinks truck to come help pick up all that money, because this is insane. This is one of the biggest deals we've ever seen.
It is the biggest deal.
And that's what I'm saying. 12 years, $426.5 million. That's almost $500 million that they just invested for 12 years.
There goes the notion that he may go join Bryce Harper.
Oh, that kills that notion. But the thing I see is that if the Angels don't win a World Series, paying this type of price tag, they better start smacking themselves in the face.
Well, it's LA. They'll have the money, and they have the market. They can attract some free agents, things like that. But the reason why this is a big deal, because of the fact that Machado and Harper had to wait so long to get deals, and they got less than what they were expecting. And Mike Trout, after all this stuff is now blown over, he just gets an extension. Doesn't even have to hit the open market. Yeah. And he gets more money than both of those players could get.
By $100 million.
Yeah, by $100 million. But yeah, over 12 years. So that kind of shows you right there. They're expecting him to be not only the face of the Angels for the next decade, but he's probably the face of baseball for the next decade.
You know what? You're probably not lying at this point.
He's already the most well-known baseball player. It's not saying much because baseball doesn't advertise their players as much as some of these other leagues do.
No. A lot of these other leagues really use all the players involved in the league for so many different promotional things and really advertise them at the forefront. Baseball is one of the only sports that doesn't do that to the extent. But Mike Trout to go out, like you said, after Machado and Bryce Harper got their deals, and we're thinking, man, they got paid, and then this comes along on an extension. It just blew my mind. But if you are getting paid that much, you are definitely being expected to be the face of not only your franchise but the league, because when you're making that kind of money, it's just going to go hand in hand. But the thing is that we've seen when it comes to these mega deals that it doesn't always translate statistically. So the one thing I fear, did the Angels just overpay for a player that might not be able to hold it up, or does Mike Trout make all $426.5 million worth it?
I'm stopping you right there because he deserves this kind of money. His production is better than Machado and Harper. If anything, both of those teams overpaid for those guys.
Love it.
So Mike Trout is one of the, like, they talk about 5-tool players in baseball when they're coming out and coming up as a prospect. Mike Trout was one of the most critically acclaimed prospects coming into baseball. I think he's definitely well deserving of it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, he's the guy. I mean, I think he deserves all the money that he just got, but he was going to get paid no matter what. So if you're the Angels, smart on you to pay him now before he hits the open market and you're bidding against other teams.
That is a very good point. But the one thing I do look at, and it is a slightly different situation, but Albert Pujols was a huge name at one point when he was with the St. Louis Cardinals, and he made a nice big deal to come over to the Angels and ended up not being able to produce anywhere near what he was able to when he was in St. Louis.
Because he was also 36 years old and over the hill.
And like I said, it was a slightly different situation. But I worry that when you get Mike Trout on this extension, which they definitely should have before hitting the open market, smartest thing the Angels could have done, but I worry how this ends up playing out because Mike Trout isn't necessarily young, but he's not necessarily old. He would be what's considered the prime of his career, but you're really banking, especially with a 12-year career, and I think that's the part that, or 12-year contract, which I think is the part that surprised me, was that you are banking on him to be able to keep this type of level of play for over a decade. And I don't know if I can see Mike Trout doing that. He might prove me wrong, and I hope he does. But I don't see him being able to keep that level of play that he has currently, even into the last half of this contract.
So part of that is not just to expect him to play at that high level the rest of his career. This is a you're staying in the Angels jersey until you retire, because I believe he's 26-ish?
26, 27,
26-ish. So he's going to be playing until he's almost 40.
Yes.
So I mean, most baseball players can play well into their mid-late 30s and still be able to produce in some capacity. So this is basically a contract offered by the Angels to say, we want you to end your career with us. We want to make you the highest paid player in baseball, which is, I think, why they waited to do this until after Harper and Machado settled their contract.
Just to kind of squash the beef and be like, it doesn't matter of you two because now we have them.
Well, yeah, it's basically they were waiting. I'm sure they were in contract negotiations the whole time. They were waiting.
More than likely.
They were basically just waiting to see who sets the market so they can reset the market. That's how these games go nowadays. They do it in the NFL every year. You just saw Antonio Brown wanted to reset the market, and now there's a rumor that Julio Jones they're going to reset the market for him. He's going to be the highest paid receiver. So this is a big game all the time. So I think that was the part of the reason why the Angels offered Trout the kind of contract they did.
But $500 million, that is crazy.
Who becomes the first $500 million player?
That's going to be the big race at this point.
Supposedly it could be Mookie Betts.
Ooh, man.
Because he already turned down an extension that was
turn
similar
down
to this.
Yes, he did turn down an extension with the Red Sox, and even if you want to look at the whole free agency side from this too, Mookie Betts didn't sign. I think it was till the tail end of February, beginning of March, with the Boston Red Sox last year.
Yeah.
So any number of things could happen. I would hope it's Mookie because go Red Sox. But
what if it's not the Red Sox that pay him?
That's going to scare me because they're going to get one of the best players I think playing today. But
yeah.
I don't know. I think a lot of this gets out of control because we were talking even 10 years ago about, the first big $250,000 player. And I think now it's starting to get maybe a little bit out of control. Where does the train stop with this?
It doesn't until the bubble bursts for all these leagues and they actually run out of money. Not that they run out of money, but that the revenue streams kind of dry up a little bit, because with all the inflation that happens, and there eventually people are going to stop paying for the subscription services because they can't afford them, and stop going to games because they can't afford to go to games anymore. Eventually that will happen in a post-apocalyptic world.
I was about to say it's going to take a nuke to make that happen.
But yeah, eventually it does stop. But yeah, so we'll have to see. We were talking about when Mookie Betts signed last year. They actually had Scott Boras on the Wingo and Golick show a couple days ago.
Good show.
On Friday, I believe, Thursday or Friday, and they were talking about this exact thing. Why are people signing so late? because of all the arbitration rulings and, having those meetings and things like that.
Right.
So that's why some of these contracts don't even get started until February, because they're dealing with all that kind of stuff. But again, that's another segment we could do for another show. But opening day is right around the corner.
Yeah,
March 28th in just a few days.
So we're definitely going to see if these players put their money where their mouth is and own up on all the money they're getting paid, because a lot of teams are going to be trying to make some noise to make a push for the World Series and unseat my Boston Red Sox.
It will not be my Detroit Tigers, I'll tell you that right now.
It will not be, because I feel like the Boston Red Sox are going to repeat. But, there's a lot of strong competition out there, so we'll definitely see what happens. But you can see all of it happening as we keep you up to date on all that kind of news, especially once the opening day hits on March 28th. Going forward, just tune in to hear Final Score and get your latest. But we're getting near the end of things, but there's still one good segment we got to get in.
Yeah, we're going to finish up the show with our Give or Go segment. We'll just kind of jump right into it. So, the first topic, Give or Go, Chris. Chiefs wide receiver Tyreek Hill was subject of trade talks prior to the investigation on him. Give or go?
I give this a go, just because at the end of the day, a guy of his caliber is always going to be probably talks of some trade talks, but at the end of the day, the investigation's here either way, so it really doesn't matter until everything gets figured out anyways. But Craig, Shaq joined the Papa John's board of directors and is now going to be their brand ambassador and will be opening multiple locations in the Atlanta area. Give or go?
I'm going to go on this just because the fact that he's been such a businessman over the fact that over the past few years, he had money in multiple other outlets of fast food chains, things like that. So great move for him. It's a great move by Papa John's for PR standpoint.
Oh, definitely.
With their owner, the Papa John. But I think it's a great move for both parties, and we'll see where Papa John's stock goes from here. Next one, Chris, give or go. Lakers Lonzo Ball hinting at a move from his own Big Baller brand, where he's 51% owner, to go to Nike. Give or go?
Oh, we're going to give in on this one because I have a lot to say about this. So at the end of the day, I'm no fan of the Ball family and the Big Baller brand, but at the end of the day, I think Lonzo Ball is starting to see this now, because it was released recently that Lonzo Ball was trying to distance himself from Alan Foster, the co-owner of Big Baller Brand, Alan Foster. Let me get my words straight here. After $1.5 million from Lonzo's business and personal accounts went unaccounted for and flat out missing. So I find that quite interesting that someone that's a quote-unquote family friend was left to manage a lot of the business aspect and personal accounts of your biggest client, who's not only your biggest client, but your 51% owner. It just blows my mind, and I think just shows yet another reason why the Ball family is just a large dysfunctional group of people who just can't get their lives together, because LeVar Ball does nothing but run his mouth and make him look a fool, which makes his sons look a fool, and is trying to act like he's one of the hottest things walking, and you're doing nothing but tarnishing whatever legacy that Lonzo is trying to create. Lonzo at one point said, my number is going to be up there in the rafters at the Staples Center as one of the all-time greats.
That was Magic that said that about him.
Well, guess what? Magic's going to be wrong, because Lonzo's not going to have his number up in the rafters, because at the end of the day, his family is utterly destroying anything around him, including anything money related. It seems $1.5 million going missing. Any kind of image he has. I remember that you had Lonzo Ball, LeVar Ball, and his younger brother all go on WWE Raw and made a fool of themselves to the point where the WWE said they would never have the Ball family on any of their programming ever again. I think that says something right there. And now you have all this happening. And let's not forget about LeVar Ball and all of the comments and things he's done with all these Big Baller Brand tournaments you've seen happen, and all the controversy around those, where you even had one team was suspected of having to pay to get in. It's just utterly ridiculous. So I feel like at the end of the day, Lonzo Ball hinting at a move from Big Baller Brand to Nike, don't hint at it, just do it. So, because at the end of the day, it's going to be the best move you ever made.
Woo! That was hot.
Sorry.
That was a hot take.
That was a hot take. But
I love how you threw in the "just do it" too at the end.
Oh, I'm great with my product placement. So, but another thing we need to look at, CBS featuring a Zion cam during the NCAA tournament to record everything he does. Something CBS is now actually going to roll through with. Give or go, Craig.
I'm going to give a few minutes on this. This kind of opens up a huge can of worms, but this is just another huge hypocrisy that the NCAA is allowing the CBS production team to move forward with on their quote student athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the little promotion that they're running, the student athlete commercial that they're doing all across the NCAA tournament. That is a complete hypocrisy of the system in and of itself.
Oh, yes.
But so CBS producer Mark Wolf revealed to the News and Observer in Raleigh, North Carolina, that the network plans to have a Zion cam focused on him throughout their run in the NCAA tournament. And he said, and I quote, "Because of Zion, we've added a camera dedicated to him the whole time he's on the floor. We hired a cameraman, a camera, a digital tape machine to record everything he does. We were recording his workout here today in the event something were to happen. We're monitoring Zion 24/7, end quote. This is like, okay, he's an 18-year-old kid that is going to college. The fact that he's making nothing off any of this.
Oh, absolutely nothing.
He's making zero off of any of this.
Well, some would argue that, he gives tuition and room and board, which is crock.
BS.
Absolute crock.
You almost got me to curse.
Almost
got me to curse.
Maybe one day.
I will. You better watch
I actually
out.
have to use my my sensor soundboard.
Oh, I'll make you utilize that if you want. But anyway, so this is way too much. This is why this is why I believe that somebody at some point is going to end up getting a student union. It's going to happen at some point, and they're going to take down the NCAA for the BS hypocrisy that they've been running.
Oh, yes.
The money machine that they get every single year, making money off these kids. The NCAA tournament is no different. So the fact that this guy makes nothing, he's going to make a lot of money in his all of his endorsements and getting drafted and playing in the NBA. What if he blows out his knee in this tournament? Then what? Then what happens?
He
doesn't have
almost blew it
insurance.
out.
He doesn't have insurance on him. And guess what? The NCAA just made a boatload of money because they had a Zion cam so they can get more revenue and more ad revenue and they can just bulk up the tournament again. Just stop. CBS, quit with this crap. Just quit.
You know what? I don't think it's just CBS because you got to remember who's allowing this to happen. The NCAA. Because you know what? I'm going to give a go on this too. Because at the end of the day, the NCAA has been utterly ridiculous in the way they treat all student athletes. And it had came to full light with the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit that ended up making us lose all college video games forever. So at the end of the day, if you can't see that the NCAA is making billions off these kids with literally pennies in return, then you are as blind as who's a good blind person. Let's go ahead and notate a good blind person.
Let's just say blind as a bat.
Blind as a bat.
Let's just be politically correct here, okay?
Okay, yeah. I won't get crazy. I know I'm hot right now, but man.
Damn.
But it just kills me that the NCAA would be so greedy to literally make billions off these kids and give nothing in return. It literally took until the past 5 years or so just to be able to get cash stipends for these kids for their extra expenses outside of tuition, books, and board. I think it's utterly ridiculous. And I agree that eventually a student athlete union is going to have to take over. The NCAA cannot be allowed to keep exploiting these kids day in and day out for their own gain.
Yeah, and Northwestern got close with their football team a couple of years ago.
Yes, I remember that.
They got close, but eventually I hope it does happen because it's either give these guys some kind of likeness, like so that way. But they're professionals. Who cares? That's what they're going for anyway. They want to play for that professional contract anyway. So they should at least be given something for the likenesses. Don't pay them a salary or anything like that, but they should be getting, if you're walking around wearing a Zion Williamson Duke jersey that you bought from the school needs to pay him for that.
Absolutely.
Did you ever watch the Fab Five documentary?
Oh, yes.
That's a big one to bring up right there because people were walking around with Chris Webber jerseys and Juwan Howard jerseys, and those guys were begging people for money so they could freaking eat.
Do you remember the one year they had the NCAA tournament and you had one of the biggest players in the tournament complaining about the fact that the NCAA was breathing down their neck about putting cream cheese on their damn bagel?
No, when was this?
This is probably about 4 years ago or so. You had a player, and I want to say it was for Duke. I cannot remember the player's name for the life of me, but had actually come out and said that the kind of food that they were giving in the spreads for these teams was ridiculous, and that the NCAA was hammering down so much on what was allowed to be paid for by the teams in NCAA and what constituted as extra was literally came down to whether or not you could have cream cheese on your bagel. And I think that's utterly ridiculous. And in response, the NCAA abolished the rule altogether and said, you know what, these kids need to eat. It's all good. We don't want to have stories of kids here far away from home, far away from their school, while competing in these tournaments, not being able to eat.
Yeah, the NCAA is ridiculously hypocritic of itself. So it
really is.
It needs to stop. NCAA needs to be taken down by somebody. Eventually, it's going to happen.
It's going to have to.
Eventually, it's going to happen. But until then, we will just enjoy from afar, watching what we can and help out where we can, supporting our schools. Hopefully, they can support their student athletes and actually emphasize the fact that if they want to come to a school for the education and the experience of going away to college, then definitely go and do it. But don't have the Zion Williamsons of the world have to sit through a year of college, but when they could be making millions of dollars in the professional ranks.
And on top of it, making it to where these student athletes can't go and get jobs. They can't get normal paying jobs because you're a student athlete. You're not allowed to do that.
But other students can do that. It's
absolutely,
because they don't care.
100% academic scholarship students can do that all day, but not these guys. Not these guys who are literally not only taking care of all their studies and their personal lives, but putting in 40 hours a week for a sport for your school and for the NCAA to profit off of.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff the NCAA needs to change, which is why they had their committee that started, I believe it was 2 years ago now. But we'll have to see if they try to make some more changes to help make it better for these student athletes. But it's not going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately.
Unfortunately,
so the NCAA is going to continue to make a ton of money.
Hopefully, though, somebody eventually will make the change. But you are right. But you know what? That was a very spirited give or go segment. But sadly, though, we're going to get out some of our final thoughts and take a look at the week ahead. What do you have going on this week?
Well, the NFL owners meeting is happening starting tomorrow, I believe, Monday through Wednesday, I believe it was.
Sunday through Wednesday. So it started today.
Today through Wednesday. So we'll see what kind of comes out of that. Usually there's a lot of proposals and rule changes and things like that come up. So we'll see what comes out of those meetings, as well as we're finishing up with the NCAA tournament games tonight, which we're actually currently watching the Duke Central Florida game, UCF and Duke. It's a very close game.
Oh, yeah, UCF is hanging in there strong with good old Taco.
They're hanging in there with Taco Fall. So those wrap up tonight on Sunday night, and then we will be looking forward to the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 matchups for the road to the Final Four as it rolls on. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I tell you what, it's going to be a lot of great stuff, and definitely we're going to be following the NCAA tournament and these NFL owners meetings to the T, so we can see what happens, because there's going to be a lot of great things that are going to happen. But we're at the end of another episode, and I tell you what, it's been quite the doozy. I think we actually stayed in time this time.
Yeah, we actually kept. For
the most part.
Well, for the most part, we had to kind of tell each other to kind of wrap up a little bit.
Yeah, we got on each other, but we made it through. But definitely
we'll make it through.
Absolutely, but definitely make sure you check out this episode and all of our other great episodes and content on Podbean. All you have to do is go to pcnfinalscore.podbean.com and check out all of our great episodes, including this one. So make sure you go on there, give us a subscribe, give us a follow, give us a like. Go check out all of our episodes and enjoy them. And also pop on over to our social media outlets on Facebook at /PCNFinalScore and on Twitter at PCNFinalScore. Give us a like, give us a follow, drop us a line. We'll go ahead and give you a response. And also check us out on podcastcity.net /FinalScore for all of our latest there as well. But until next time, definitely make sure you check everything out. But we're going to go watch some more NCAA tournament action and catch out this AAF game later on. But definitely make sure that you stay safe and you have a great night. Craig, it's been a pleasure.
As always, a lot of fun.
Always fun.
Looking forward to watching some. See if Johnny Football hits the field tonight.
Oh, that's going to be interesting, and maybe we'll have the report on that next week. But until then, I'm Chris, and this is Craig of Podcast City Network's first sportscast, Final Score. Have a great night.
Podcast City Network.